Welcome to Buy Black, the voice of Black business. The only podcast that provides free marketing for growing Black companies, education for budding entrepreneurs, and a reliable place for consumers to find and spend money in quality Black-owned businesses. I'm your host, Gerald Jones, and if you learned something from this episode, be sure to subscribe and leave us a rating or review on iTunes. Ready? Let's get to work. This is going to be episode number 66. This week, we're going to have another fairly short episode. I know last week I told you that we were going to be sharing the episode that we did, a follow-up with Jamel LaBranche with Fifth Shades. However, the audio that we recorded was actually recorded on a single track. So what that means is that my audio and his audio were recorded on the same track because we were using a different software than I normally use to record episodes, and our volumes were different. It was pretty much impossible for me to go in and modify his volume separately from my volume to level out the audio, make it sound good. And so I had to scrap that episode because it probably would have taken days to try to separate everything out, get it cleaned up, and make it good for producing. So I had to go a different route this week. And so I wanted to do a short episode that focuses on letting you guys know what I have going on here recently. As I said last week, I am working on a fairly big project. I'm really excited about it. It's going to be my first major project or product that I'm putting together to go out and market and share with the world. And so I'm going to use today's episode to talk to you a little bit about the thought processes and the philosophy behind that product that's coming out, and hopefully to teach you a little something about kind of what I do, as well as things that you can incorporate into making your businesses run better. So I don't really have a script or an outline for this episode. Everything is in my head. So walk with me through it as I talk about this stuff. If you decide to take notes and if you have more questions about kind of what some of this means, please feel free to reach out to me. You can email me at gerald@buyblackpodcast.com. And I would love to hear your feedback. I'd love to hear your questions. And mostly I would love to find out, hearing the things that I'm going to talk about today, what questions you have and what types of information you think you would like to have as a follow-up to what I'm sharing, because a lot of this is going to be kind of the basis of the course that I'm building. So, here it is. Let's just jump into it. So how do I want to say this? How do I want to start this? All right. So I'll just talk about sports and combat and such. So there are three things that I have identified that are common traits of teams that win, and specifically teams that win championships, teams that rarely lose. And I've identified these things through my time in the military. I've identified them through the sports that I played, and then in watching multiple different types of team sports and seeing the commonalities between the teams that win and what it takes to win. So I'll start this out by asking you a question just to think about. When you think about military special operations forces, what is it in your mind that makes them so much better than other military forces? What is it that makes them the elite forces that they are? I ask this question a lot when I'm doing training courses, especially if I'm doing a training course that is a kind of a basic training or a foundational training, kind of like the more simple ground level stuff. And people typically give me the same answers. You might be thinking, well, they only accept the best of the best, or they have the best equipment, or they get the most technology, or they have the biggest budget, or whatever that is. But what they will tell you, and what I've observed, is that it's not the better people, and it's not the better equipment or anything like that. It is the fact that they focus on the very foundational and basic fundamental craft of doing their job. And they practice that over and over again. And they do it better than anybody else. When you talk about the basics of the craft of warfare, there are 3 things that you have to do on a battlefield better than the enemy if you want to win. You've got to shoot, which means that firing your weapons, you have to be more accurate than your enemy. You have to hit what you're aiming at. You have to move, which means that you're moving your forces around the battlefield efficiently. And you have to be able to move your forces better than your enemy. And communicate. You've got to be much better at communicating both on and off the battlefield in order for you to win. Those special elite forces, they do those 3 things flawlessly. Shoot, move, and communicate. It's just the basics. And if you do those 3 things better, you are going to win. Now, thinking about that concept, I want you to move your brain over to a sport, specifically basketball. All right. Whether you played the game before, whether you have won championships, or whether you just like to watch really good teams play. All right. I want you to put the Golden State Warriors in your head, and not KD Golden State Warriors. I'm talking about the first championship Warriors, where it was just, Steph and Clay and Iguodala and Draymond and all of these guys that were relatively small guys, but they played as a team. And think about that team in the concept of what I'm about to say now. If you are a basketball team and you want to win games, you want to win championships, you have got to shoot the ball more accurately than your opponent. You've got to move the ball around the court more efficiently than your opponent. And you've got to communicate with your teammates more effectively than your opponent. Shoot, move, and communicate. Accuracy, efficiency, effectiveness. Think about football. The team that's going to win on the football field needs to pass the ball accurately, needs to run the ball efficiently, and they need to communicate effectively. Everybody has got to know their role in the play. Everybody has got to know which play is coming up next. They got to be able to hear the audibles and respond and react to those things. It all comes down to 3 basic things: shoot, move, communicate. Accurate, efficient, effective. Now, I'm talking about all of these sports, but let's think about business. If you're running a business, what are the things that you have to do if you want to run an effective business? Well, you've got to accurately identify your target market, the people who you are creating value for, the people who are buying your product or service. If you think that you're serving 18 to 21-year-old college students who enjoy going to the club, but in reality, the people who are looking at your product and saying, I want to buy that, are 40 to 55-year-old people who are recently divorced and getting back into the dating scene. All right. If you don't know that those are the people who are actually willing to buy your product or service, whatever that is, you're not accurately identifying your target market, and you're going to fail. You also have to create value accurately for that target market. You need to create the value, which is the product or the service that actually solves the problem they have. And you need to do that accurately. Okay. So shooting, accuracy, business. What you also need to do is deliver that value that you've created to your customer efficiently. You need to give them a user experience or a customer experience that is seamless, that is easy, that is convenient, that makes them want to come back to you over and over again because of how easy it was for them to get the value from you, right? That needs to be efficient. And you have to do things to create that value, right? If it's a product, you have to create the product, or you have to get the product from the manufacturer. If it is a service, then you have to make sure that whatever platforms it is that you use to deliver that service, those platforms run smoothly and efficiently. If you partner with anybody, Your communications and your working with those partners needs to have as little friction as possible. It all needs to be seamless. Efficiency. Because the less efficient you are, the more friction there is, the higher the costs are for you doing business, the more frustrating it is to do business with you for your customers and your clients, which means on one side, it's going to cost you more to run your business. On the other side, you're going to have a harder time keeping your customers. So efficiency, moving, logistics, it needs to be seamless. And then the third piece is communicating. Once you've got a customer or client, how do you hold on to them? How do you let them know you care? How often do you reach out to them just to make sure that everything's okay? How often do you reach out to them and let them know what other products or services you have to offer? How effective are those communications? Are you sending them to the place where those people are already at? Are you telling them things in a way that they're going to receive and they're going to want to listen? How effective are your communications? You have partners. How effective are your communications with your partners, with your manufacturers, with people that you outsource to? How effectively does your virtual assistant know exactly what it is that you expect from them? How effective is that communication? If you have effective communications, both on the partnership side of your business and on the customer facing side of your business, then you're going to win. So when you look at business and then you look at sports and then you look at combat, there are three basic things that always rise to the top and say, if you do these three things better than your competitor, you're going to come out on top. And that is shoot, move, and communicate. All right. So here's the other side to this. When you look at a battlefield, when you look at a basketball court or a football field, nobody goes into any of those arenas without a game plan. Nobody just says, I'm going to go out there and wing it today. There's a plan, right? There's a strategy. In the military, not only is there a strategy, a lot of times they've played out the way that the game is going to go on the battlefield several times over before they ever step off. They've built a full terrain model that looks just like the battlefield, and they move the little pieces around on the board while talking through the game plan over and over and over. They've asked everybody there, what is your role? What is your role? What do you do? Where do you go? When do you do it? Until everybody has rehearsed and they know exactly what the game plan is. And then you go out and you execute. Basketball team, practice, practice, practice. I remember when I was in high school. All right, so when I was in high school, our high school basketball team was ranked 10th in the nation. One of the best teams that's ever come through Arkansas. One of the guys on our team, Joe Johnson, he's still playing in the league now. And he, at the time, wasn't even the quote-unquote best player on the team. He was just the most versatile. But I remember in high school, our basketball practices, there were really only three main things that we did. We started off the practices and we did fast break drills. And that was like the first thing that we did. And with those fast break drills, a lot of it was a requirement that the ball never touch the ground. So you've got, whether it was a 3-man weave, whether it was a drill that we call perfection, you would move the ball down the court with two other players on a fast break, either through a weave or through the perfection drill. And then you would take a shot on both ends and the ball would never touch the ground. You could not miss a shot. You make it all the way down and all the way back, making both shots with the ball never touching the ground. And that was the standard. That was the expectation. And if you messed it up, then you either had to do push-ups, you did laps, you did whatever. But anything less than perfection was not accepted. And if you had too many groups that went back to back that were not perfect, then we would just stop. We would all get on the line and we would just run sprints, because the expectation is that we practice until we are perfect. Another major thing that we did a lot of drills that required movement without the ball. One of the biggest ones, it was a 2-on-2 drill where there was a man with a ball and then he had his teammate. And then there was a guy on defense on the guy with the ball, and then the guy on defense with the teammate. And so the guy with the ball couldn't move. He couldn't dribble. He couldn't do anything. He had to stand still and protect the ball with somebody playing defense on him. The teammate without the ball, he had to cut. He had a back cut. He had a V cut. He had to, down cut. He had to try to loop over the top of his defender. He had to just work his butt off to get open. And the job of the guy with the ball was to hit the man when he was open. The job of the man without the ball was to get open. And the intent was to try to eventually get a back cut or an over the top cut to get a pass and then score without the ball ever touching the ground. So it was a lot of hard work. But the point of it was learning how to move without the ball, learning how to move the ball in a tight space when you were well defended. And then the other drills that we did were shooting drills. Any drill that we did where we were shooting, the expectation was that you were going to hit your shots. We did a drill called elbow to elbow, where you run back and forth to the elbows of the free throw line, and you take 10 shots on each side. And then the shots that you miss, you're doing push-ups, right? When it came to free throws, there was an expectation of you're going to hit 8 out of 10. If you're not hitting 8 out of 10, you're doing push-ups. Everything was about accuracy. Now, one of the top teams in the nation, and most of our practices, the majority of the time was spent on that. And then the rest of the time was spent on running static plays. 5 people on the court, running through the playbook over and over and over again. Then new people come on, running over and over and over again. Then you throw defense on and you're static. We're not running full court anything. Over and over and over again, you're running the plays. First without defense, then with defense. And then after you've done that over and over again, then maybe for about 15 minutes, you would run full court where you had defense and offense on both sides and you're running the plays. But the majority of the time was focused on accuracy, efficiency, and effectiveness of communication. That's what it was all built on. And then we worked on the playbook. And then we would go out and win games by 50 plus points every single time. And it looked effortless. And you would think it was just because we had, the best players in the nation, which we had really, really great players. But it was the execution. It was the seamless execution of the plan that made it almost impossible for other teams to keep up. That also has to happen in your business. If you own a business, or if you're an entrepreneur and you've got a business idea and you haven't taken the time to actually turn that idea into a fleshed out plan, and I'm not just talking about a business plan, a written 15 or 20 page plan that never is going to happen because things just don't work out that way. But I mean an actual visualized plan that almost looks like a playbook of how you're going to run your business, how you're going to create value for the right target segments, how you're going to deliver that value to them, how you're going to find the right people to partner or outsource to, and what those activities are going to be, what resources you're going to use. If you haven't built that plan around your business idea, you're not going to succeed. It's going to fail because you can only kind of try and trial and error for so long before it catches up to you and you run into a crisis and you don't know what to do because you don't have a plan. So the product that I'm building, that I'm working on right now, that has taken me away from, doing the full production of the podcast, a product that I'm building is a product that is an online course that is going to literally walk people through the process of turning a business idea into a fully fleshed out game plan or business plan that you can go and you can execute immediately to start making money and building for long-term growth. All right. So it's a lot of work because a lot of people have business ideas, but there's really nothing out there that walks you through turning that idea into a business. And so I'm creating that product right now. What I would like for you all to do as you're listening to this, if you have a business idea and you're kind of where I'm talking about right now, it's not fleshed out, you don't know the structure to put around it, I want you to go to dopebusinessplan.com, DOPE businessplan.com. There you'll just find a coming soon page and you can sign up right there. Give me your email address and your name. And what I'll be able to do is I'll be able to continually give you both updates and free content on the way up to the kickoff of this online course that will kind of give you a little bit of a sneak peek of what's going to be inside of it. But also for people who sign up to get those updates, you're also going to have access to a pre-sale discounted offer that's going to be exclusive to the folks who've signed up to find out more about the course before it actually launches. I plan on launching the course on January 1st of 2019. So pre-sales are probably going to start either the week before that or the week before Christmas. I haven't decided yet because I've still got a lot of work to do building this course. But do that right now. And especially if you're a listener of this podcast and we talk about buy Black, support Black businesses, this is my business. And if you know people, if you have friends who have talked about starting a business, have great business ideas, and you know that they need some guidance, they need some structure around it, tell them about dopebusinessplan.com. Get them to go over there and sign up, because once this thing launches, it's going to be a game changer. And I want my listeners to be some of the first people taking advantage of it so that you can go out and you can actually start creating more money in your pockets and in your community using this tool to put a structure around your business. All right. So that's basically all I have for you today. Again, if you have any questions about what I talked about, if you want to know more details, if you want a little bit more information about this concept of the 3 basic things that you have to do and putting a structure, a game plan around your business, definitely reach out to me, gerald@buyblackpodcast.com. But I'm telling you, if you go ahead and sign up at dopebusinessplan.com, you're going to be in my email loop to receive periodic updates as I continue building the course. I want to thank you all for being patient with me as I have been kind of away from putting all my full focus into the production of Buy Black Podcast. But as we talk about sometimes, you have to set your priorities. And right now, my priority is putting together this course that's going to take care of the community in a way that the podcast really can't. And also that's going to take care of my family in a way that the podcast really can't. So it's going to be a win-win-win. I'm really excited about it. Definitely continue to help me spread the word, connect people with it, and share the link to dopebusinessplan.com with anybody you are interacting with who is constantly talking about their business ideas, but they never take action on them, or they don't have a really good structure around them. I'm here for those people. This course is going to be for those people. So thanks for jumping in. Thanks for following me along this way. And I look forward to connecting with you guys next week.